Justice Dairus Kobo of Kaduna State High Court has granted Ibrahim El-Zakzaky, the leader of the Islamic Movement in Nigeria, a leave to seek for medical attention in New Delhi, India. Kobo, while granting the IMN leader the leave, said he would travel in company of state officials and that the IMN leader must return immediately after the discharge from the hospital to face his charges. Now, the question is, will the federal government let this happen? Because this is one out of many of these court orders that has said, let the man go, release him. And, none of these were obeyed. Do you think that this particular one will be obeyed? I'll start with you, Mr. Adegbuyi, because I remember his attorney, S.A.N. Falana, saying that it is only a man who's alive that can actually stand trial. So if he's not in good health, what's the essence of trying to place him on trial? But with all of the things that have been happening lately in Nigeria, what are your speculations?
Yeah, I'm not expecting something different. Why? Because we still have Dasuki there. That court of a different jurisdiction has granted bail, and the federal government deem it fit that it's better for them to still keep him and go against the court order. El-Zakzaky, this is not the first time they granted him bail. The first time they granted him bail, the federal government actually failed to release him. But maybe on medical, which I still doubt that they are going to release him. If it is still the same government that has been ruling since 2015 that will continue to rule in the next 4 years, I'm not seeing this guy leaving the court. I'll be surprised if the guy is released for his medical attention in India.
Now, Ugo, we have seen protests upon protests that have turned violent many times from the IMN until their prescription. And there was a release of a statement by his daughter, El-Zakzaky's daughter, saying nothing is going to stop them. But if the government is, or the courts are saying this man can go for a health checkup, which is one of the reasons why they've been protesting, do you not think that the government will do this in the best interest of us, the people who they say that they're trying to protect, and hence the prescription of these people who they say have become harmful to us society because of the last protest? Do you think the government might just
If I am a betting man, I would bet that this government will not allow this guy to travel, right?
Why are we so negative about this? Because
it's not
if a court,
it's not being negative. You're making it look like I'm the person that kept the guy in prison, like in DSS custody. I'm not the one. See, whatever we're saying here so far is because of, you see, there has been a consistency in this government, in this administration, to disregard and not to obey court order. See, this consistency is always unparalleled. See, you see, nothing can match it. So, going by that same level of consistency that has made the IMN and the rest of them to hit the street and be protesting over the last few weeks, see, I still envisage that the same thing will continue, right? Because we have a government, and the saddest part of it is that we have a so-called senior advocate of Nigeria as the vice president, and who is also a pastor, but does not understand what it means, justice means.
His vice president is not the Attorney General of the Federation. He cannot dabble into that.
He can't dabble into it because he is the vice president. Both of them were elected on the
Attorney General.
No, both of them, he's a vice president. Both of them were elected on a joint mandate. Right? So we cannot discuss Buhari administration and exonerate Yemi Osinbajo. And the saddest part of it is that if Buhari is doing this thing, it's easy to understand because a leopard doesn't change his skin. So being a general, forget the Reform Democrat, forget the trying to paint him look nice. He's not a Reform Democrat. We've established that already. But it's shocking and sad that a senior advocate of Nigeria and a former Attorney General of Lagos State, that is the vice president that was elected on the same mandate with Buhari, has consistently sat in the same Federal Executive Council and has refused to say anything to help this man's case. So for me, all right, it's sad to admit that this government will not allow this guy to travel. It's sad to admit. And the reason why
I just made a statement, and I'm going to make it again. If the government has said the prescription of these groups of people is so that they would not, it is in the best interest of the state, which is us, the people, would it still not be in the best interest of the state to let this man, or give into their demands, which is simple, let the man go get health care or, see a doctor? And the court has finally said, let the man go. Is our interest not of the utmost priority of the government of the day?
We didn't discuss this with the government of the day. All right? When they're saying the interest of the people, I'm saying my own interest is allow this man obey the court order. I'm a citizen of Nigeria, and that is my own interest. And have they listened to me over the last 4 years? Nobody has done that. They feel that maybe we are not important enough for them to give attention to what we're saying. There is a court order. There was an existing court order in Abuja that granted this guy bail and for him to receive treatment. They came back with the kangaroo court judgment, with the kangaroo court case in Kaduna. And luckily, the judiciary has able to stand up and do the right thing. And the judiciary is saying, okay, give this guy the grace to travel and come back. So it does not make sense. All right, see, they are prescribing this guy. Same thing they did to Show. You see, APC and Buhari, they have this thing that they do very, very well. They work with you. And after they've sapped you of all your juice and energy, they just deal with you. Let me put it that way. Because prior to this election in 2015, El-Rufai, Muhammadu Buhari, they all met with this guy, with this El-Zakzaky. So when you guys were meeting these guys, prior when Goodluck was president, you didn't know that this guy was a terror. You didn't know that this guy was a problem. But you all went out, met this guy, took pic. Allegedly. Allegedly. And they alleged that the guy was a terrorist or whatever they want. And you all went out, had pictures with this guy, took pictures with this guy, met him in Zaria and the rest of them. And he became president. And automatically, this guy became the bad guy, became the bad sheep of the country. So my issue is this. See, as far as the court, the constitution, like he rightly said, supposed to be the final judge on everything in this country. Mm-hmm. But we have a president and we have a vice president that calls himself a senior advocate of Nigeria, that their trademark so far is to disregard court judgment. And based on that precedent, I don't think General Muhammadu Buhari and Professor Yemi Osibanjo will allow this guy to travel. But the right thing to do is to allow him. And you know what is going to happen? If they don't allow this guy to travel based on this court ruling, the issue that we're having with IIM over the last few weeks will escalate.
Let's take a look at a clip. Femi Falana, SAN, is the attorney for the El-Zakzaky family, and he's been representing them. He said something some weeks ago. Well, let's take a listen.
It's getting worse by the day, and there is a need for urgent intervention. Mm-hmm. So the matter is adjourned to the 29th of this month to have the application heard. Yeah. Oh, he lost an eye a long time ago. Okay. And the second one is, if there's no urgent medical intervention, he may lose the second one. But what is of urgent importance now is the state of their health. Because they need to be alive, to stand trial, to be able to stand trial. It's getting worse by the day.
All right, so there you have it, Femi Falana speaking. So obviously it's not that it's a ploy to get him out of custody. There is a real thing like him losing his sight. So his health has to be really bad for them to be pushing this hard. Although this does not excuse the violence that we saw on the streets of Abuja back to back because they were trying to ask for him to be released. But do we really need to drag this any further? Let the man go if he really is sick. Because if he dies in custody, that's a different case entirely, right?
The first question I will ask, why is the man being held?
He's an enemy of state, allegedly.
Enemies of state, what?
Who made enemy of state?
You get, so we need to understand. I'm yet to understand, because what I know of is, as at the time this man was arrested, there was a friction between...
An altercation between the army chief
and them. You get, so later everything settled and they went back to get the man arrested, and before you know it, everything just went down and nobody was hearing anything about the guy until some periods later. Now, he has been there for about 3 years now, if I'm not wrong.
More.
In 2016. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was arrested in 2016, about 3 years now. When the foresight was getting bad, I'm very sure the federal government will come out and say they didn't know, because that is the trademark. My president does not always know anything. Now, it's about losing the second sight. I am telling you, it's not going to move this government. It's not going to move this government an inch. Why is this? Because the government, this government already has precedent of not obeying the law. That's about number two. On prescribing the IMN,
yes.
A terrorist group is as far as is funding a group that is not as armed as the policemen not attacking.
Well, the police claimed that the police officer that was killed during the last protest,
only one police officer was killed.
It was enemy fire, and the youth copper,
sorry, let me comment. The IMM came out and said they didn't do that. We are talking about a police force that over the last 50 years in this country have never been for the people. And you want me to believe them? The same police force that they will go into prison. Amnesty International reported it. We'll talk about where they have all the cell across the country, where they harass people, intimidate people. We saw it on the television just now. Is it the same policemen that want to believe? The same policemen that just because someone came out to protest, you are beating the person up, you beat up a journalist. The same security agency that have Jones Abri in prison for the last 2 years because he just did his work as a journalist. What we see. The truth is, the funny thing is, do you know why? To understand why we talk about this now, we smile. Is that because at the end of the day, they say when the judgment will start from the house of God. Whatever is going to start, will start from the police head office, and we'll be the last people that will receive it. Because at the end of the day, you are a police officer. You are not entitled to welfare, healthcare. Your children are poor and sick. You still live in the same neighborhood with the people that you oppress every day. And you think, and you don't have sense that will ask you that what you're doing is wrong. So at the end of the day, I don't believe the police. IM said they didn't do it. They didn't do it.
Interesting. So now that the court have said he should be released, and if for us as Nigerians, even though I don't know how high our voices have to be raised to speak to the government's hearing, but can we actually play a role in advocating for his release, to go get health care and then come back for the hearing? Is there a way that Nigerians can do it? Because again, I sound like a broken record because I asked, can we play a role? Plus the fact that they've been proscribed. Is there any grounds to solicit that these court judgments be adhered to? Again, in our best interest, because we had 2 people who died. Whether we like it or not, that police officer is a Nigerian, is a human being. That youth corps member was practicing as a reporter, and he lost his life. So people who are not supposed to be, to lose their lives and stuff like that are beginning to lose their lives, and we're the ones who will be at the receiving end. Is there how we can get the government to somewhat?
I will answer that, but first of all, if General Muhammadu Buhari and Yemi Osibanjo have obeyed court order in 2016 and let this man go, that police officer will still be alive. By now, he'll be going back home to eat dinner with his children. That youth corper will finish his service and go back to Kaduna and see his family. Right? So we are not going to absolve the responsibility. That they died is because our president failed to obey court order. And the same thing with Yemi Osibanjo. And it's sad that after this guy died, he went to their family to condole them for what? It's disrespectful.
But I know the buck stops at the president's table, and I'm not in any way trying to make a case for the president.
I think you did, because you're trying to make it seem like...
No, but I'm saying that there's so many steps to it. Where is the government, the governors of the different states? I mean, except for Rivers, there was no protest in Rivers, but there were protesters in Abuja, there were protesters in Lagos. Where is the National Assembly? Nobody has spoken about this. Where is the judiciary? Apart from lawyers who have spoken, where is the NBA? So do we not feel a sense of responsibility in all of the tiers of government?
Well, one thing I've noticed about Nigerians and different organizations is that if they are not affected negatively, they keep quiet. And someone said something on a lighter note. He said, you only see the vice president visiting people only either to give trader money or to pay condolence visits. You get? So I pray the vice president will not visit on any of the two, visitors on any of the two. Why? Because until people are affected negatively, for example, assuming the president, like we are saying, I'm not expecting anything different, the government refuses El-Zakzaky to go for Hinda, there's going to be protest. And it's going to be worse than the previous ones. People are going to be affected. Before you know it, this Boko Haram or Islamic this thing, they will come in, or anti-government will come in and sponsor this Shiite government. And before you know it, they start attacking people on the road. And someone influential will either lose his life or someone close to him, and the government will start paying condolence visits to that person, and that is when the government will start knowing that's when the people with the influential, the connected, will start feeling the hate. You get it? So I believe...
Do we have to wait for that? We have to go, but do we have to wait for all of this to happen? It makes me really wonder if we have to wait for all of this to happen. Unfortunately, guys, I don't know if you have the answer to that, but I want to say thank you. Babasola, Adegbuyi, Ugochukwu, Ikeakor, both political analysts. Thank you, gentlemen. I wish we had more time to talk about this, but it seems like this ended in a deadlock. We're not knowing exactly what the future holds.
No, the government. The responsibility is on the government. The future holds are then to obey court order.
Okay, well, we'll take a short break and bring you comments from Nigerians on the revolution protest and actions of security operatives. And when we return, I will be giving you my take. Well, it's time for my take. It's just really confusing when court orders are disobeyed by the same government that is dishing out orders to us to obey laws. And you know what they say, follow the leader. If the leader is not in any way doing what the law says, why follow the leader? And I'm not in any way asking for us to, you know, be, I don't know, I'm not saying that we should disobey laws, but if the government is telling us that a group of people are somewhat terrorists and miscreants, and the court of law says, release El-Zakzaky, let the man go get help and then come back and then he can face trial. Why don't let the man go? The reason why we're having all of this protest in Nigeria, by the way, just so you know, IMN, is because they categorically have said that the government has refused to do what the law court have said. And I wonder to myself, if the government is saying they're prescribing the IMN in the best interest of Nigeria and Nigerians, and IMN is asking that Mr. President and the federal government, alongside the court, do the right thing. If it's not in our best interest to avoid more killings. We lost a police officer, we lost a young man who's a core member covering one of those protests. How many more lives are we going to lose for this government to sit up and for once Shock us and do the right thing. Just shock Nigerians. Let us not continue saying, oh, there's precedents, there's some antecedents, this government does not obey court orders, they're disobedient to the law. For once, let the government prove us wrong. Do right by Nigerians. We beg of you, Mr. President. There's too much killings, too many people are dying, there's so much blood flowing through the land. And all we asked for is 4 years of good governance and good leadership. But this is what we get. So I'm wondering, is this the next level that you promised us, Mr. President? Whether it is El-Zakzaky, whether it is Omoyele Sowore, a man who's calling for protests, but then the word revolution has been coined in such a way that he wants to topple the government. And the people of Nigeria are saying, all we ask is that you give us good governance. That's all we're asking, and that's all we're protesting. We saw videos of journalists being dragged on the streets of Lagos, human beings being bitten to a pulp. Wow. I do not recognize my Nigeria anymore, and it makes me wonder, Mr. President, is this the Nigeria or the hope that you wanted to bring to us, Nigeria? APC and all the politicians out there, because tomorrow it might be another political party. Is this the Nigeria that you dreamed of? Is this the Nigeria that you want to offer us? Is this the Nigeria that we want to bring our children to? Think about it as you go to bed tonight, politicians, our leaders. Is this the Nigeria that you promised us? My name is Maryann Duke Okon. It's been Plus Politics.